Hello, space travelers, and welcome to Death Ingloria's home here on our spinning space station somewhere up among the stars, away from the maddening antics of Earth. My name is Galina. I am your coaster. I am your coaster. I'm certainly coasting through this program. I would like to introduce beside me my co-host, Etienne.
How's it going?
Oh, very cool. And we are joined tonight by Greg, also known as Darth Elvis.
Hot day!
How are
How's
you?
it going, guys?
We're good.
These off now so I can see. There we go.
Yeah, we've got you out of costume tonight, just because for a chat. We're chatting, we're talking about the whole shenanigans. Let's just start off with me moving myself across the screen for no real reason. Chrissy has joined us over on Facebook. Hello, Chrissy. If you have any comments, questions, or whatever for anybody on the screen while we're going through this, drop them in the chat and we will absolutely put it in. If you're watching on any channel that is not a Death Ingloria owned channel, so if you're on Crystal Palace Arts Alive or the Upper Norwood Library Hub or any other channel that's not directly back to a Death Ingloria channel, you cannot talk to us. You need to come over to my channels and like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe! No, I'm joking. You can just chat. You don't need to like and subscribe. Abby has joined us, and so has Chuck. Chuck Chronicles is in the house. How are you doing, sir, madam, human being, whatever? I don't. Do you know Chuck? Is Chuck one of yours? Is he?
He's one of mine. Yeah, he's my eldest.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
Puppeteer.
Let's get their family in the house. That's what we need, quite frankly. Yeah. So we'll just start off just by going around and saying, what have you been up to this week, basically? And it's Etienne. What's been happening?
So we started our Alpha Botus community Minecraft server. We still don't know what the fuck we're doing with that, but we started building. One of the locations one of our songs is built on, called Wormhole Gas Bar. So we're building the Wormhole Gas Bar, and Harakoa, our singer, made it so that the song plays in the bar, but like by the Minecraft music blocks. So the whole bar is just hiding the big structure that plays the music. So that was kind of fun. Still recording music for 3 different bands at the same time. The person who made my schedule is a dumb.
Was that you?
This has been a pretty chill week, just in the zone, recording and playing Minecraft. How about you, Ren?
We are on draft 2 of my album mix, which is always exciting, but this is where I always start second guessing myself. So like the first mix, I'm like, oh, that all sounds the same, can we do this? And then the second version, I'm like, I don't like any of this, can we just go back to the first one? Yeah. We're basically in that, and you only get 5 revisions, so you have to be very careful what you ask for. And I'm only on my first revision, so we're only on like the second draft, so I think I've messed it up already, but I'm just too involved. You all get this because you all make music, but you get demo-titis, and this is a term that production managers use everywhere, right? It's like when you've listened to your demos far too much and you think they're awesome, and then when someone actually improves it, you're like, I didn't want it to sound like that. And it becomes a whole thing. Abby's saying I'm much louder than the others. Well, that's what I want in life, to be loud as fuck. No, it's fine. I'll turn myself down a wee bit. And hopefully we'll even this out. Yay!
Yeah, demoitis is a real bitch.
I hate the sound of my own voice itis, so as a singer, it's a really bad thing. I just can't stand the sound of it. So.
But you could.
Wait for people to let me know. Oh, yeah, that sounds okay. Good. Okay.
But you get used to that after a while, don't you?
You do, yeah. But I'm still always like, there's only a couple of times I think if somebody's recording me, I'm going like, I like that. But I'm recording myself at the moment, and I don't have any skills whatsoever in terms of.
So let's just take that as a point. of reference. There's other humans around me. That's just going to be a bit noisy tonight, I'm afraid. So let's take point of reference. Do you want to introduce yourself to the audience who, some of my audience may not have ever heard of you? Living under rocks, they have. Do you want to just let people know who you are and what it is you do?
No worries. So yeah, my real stage name behind me, Darth Elvis. I'm a Star Wars fiend. Originally kicked off as a Star Wars themed Elvis impersonator back in 2007. Since then, kind of developed the act a wee bit and do tracks by lots of different artists now. So everything from Green Day, Weezer, Neil Diamond, the Beatles, original tracks from Star Wars as well. So like Lap Neck and Yub Nub and Electric Six, Gay Bars and everyone. Yeah, so all sorts of different tunes parodied up, written about Star Wars characters and locations and stuff. So I've been doing that now for it'll be 14 years this year and 15 years next year. It's like wow. So kicked off, first gig was at Star Wars Celebration Europe in London at the Excel Centre.
Like your very first gig, like your first gig ever.
First gig ever is Darth Elvis. I guess musically I've been gigging since I was 15. 42 now, old man. So played in everything, obviously cover bands starting out at school through to jazz, funk, fusion, stoner rock, post-rock stuff, and now Star Wars themed parody music. So the Star Wars themed parodies is where it's at. It's a total blast being Darth Elvis. So don't want to slow down anytime soon.
That's good. I mean, so you going through bands and like the traditional music scene, I guess. How did you stumble across? How did you first decide to make Darth Elvis the musical output? I guess I never know where I'm going with these questions. You know, I just like stumble around them until I get there. I get there in the end.
Being obsessive about Star Wars in particular, and then I guess later Elvis as well. One of my pals did a painting for me on my birthday back in 2005, and it was kind of mashing the two together. And it was essentially my costume what I wear now, but it was Darth Elvis on canvas. And that just got me thinking, and then it wasn't until I really realised that in 1977 Elvis died, Star Wars came out. I was like, aha, let's mash the two together.
Coincidence? I don't think so.
Not a coincidence. No, Elvis died. He turned to the dark. He didn't die. He turned to the dark side of the Force. He's been playing around the Outer Rim territories in the Star Wars galaxy ever since. And when people say they've seen Elvis, you know, they kind of, oh, there's an Elvis spotting. That's been Darth Elvis the whole time. So that's how the idea kind of kick-started, off the back of the painting, and then started writing some parody lyrics. And there was I contacted the people who organised the 2007 Star Wars celebration in London, and so I said, is there an avenue for me to perform at it? You know, having never performed as Darth Elvis once, not in my puff. In my puff. And they got back in touch and said, oh, this is really interesting, send me some demos. So I sent some demos over, and that was it pretty much. It was like they organised a Battle of the Bands contest. They had like an online vote, so people from all over Europe submitted stuff, and it came down to two acts performing at the con. Myself on stage on my own with backing tracks, and a band called Anchorhead, who are like full-on Star Wars. They're kind of like I guess Galactic Empire now, kind of like full-on Star Wars thrash metal, like full-on metal sound. And they just annihilated me. But that was how it started, and from there kind of grown arms and legs, and we started gigging with full band very soon after that, and it's kind of grown from there. So played all over UK at cons, Sci Fi Weekender obviously, like the good self, and back in London played the O2, what's it called, the Brooklyn Bowl.
Oh yeah,
an
yeah.
event
Yeah.
called the hashtag Cantina with Ash and my brother's Blues Harvest. And through the relationship there, kind of grown, we played gigs together with Blues Harvest and myself joining them on stage. And happy enough, we played in Chicago, Celebration Chicago, 2 years ago now, which was awesome. So it's a hell of a ride. It's been good fun.
Did you say you played with Ash? Was Ash the best?
Ash, yeah.
Yeah,
we played at hashtag Cantina. That was awesome.
Do they just have like a love for all things sci-fi? Because I feel like they're trying to get other people in to support them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Mark, the bass player, is a huge Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
His toy collection is insane. But a great bunch of guys. That was my pal, the Martin Keel, as we call him on the podcast. He organised that with a chap called Jed Shepherd, who is a name to watch out for if you're a horror fan. He's got some excellent films out there. They organised that, and it was just sold out event, huge gig, and just Star Wars fans everywhere. Brilliant.
Crazy.
Cool. We've got Chrissy Wood in the chat asking, do you have a favorite gig or location? So I guess tell us about your favorite gig as Darth Elvis so far.
I would, going back again, I'd say it's definitely hashtag Cantina at the Brooklyn Bowl in London. It was the opening, it was the night before the opening day of the Star Wars convention, and Martin and Jed had been sharing it heaps online. Ash hadn't actually been announced as officially playing. They were under a fake name, Luther Ingo Star Cruiser, which is one of their old B-sides. So if you knew their stuff, you kind of clocked that it was Ash playing it. It wasn't until the night before, I think, they announced it was actually Ash officially. But there was Star Wars cocktails. DJ Elliott was playing, Star Wars DJ. Mark Daniel, who does. He's the sort of MC for Star Wars Celebration, was there doing announcements. You had Blues Harvest with special guests on stage. Darth Elvis were on with my backing band at the time, Imperials. And then Ash, but you had like Star Wars cast and crew members kicking about, bowling, whilst the bands were playing and stuff. It was just a surreal night. Yeah, one I will never forget. But that would say closely followed by probably 2 gigs I did. 2 nights later, we played a gig at Madame Tussauds in London, which was bizarre, being surrounded by waxworks while you're gigging with Jimi Hendrix behind you. And, what's her name? Miley Cyrus riding a giant tongue on your right-hand side as you're looking off stage. And one of the last gigs I did before lockdown, sadly, was Celebration Chicago. And that was at the Museum of Science and Industry, which was massive. I've never seen a museum like it. Incredible place, but just there was like 2,000 to 3,000 Star Wars fans in the room. It was just mental. We had a nice conga line going around the audience, performing in that, so that was cool. But
Awesome.
Probably one of the best crowds ever. Got to be a Sci Fi Weekender as well. Been blessed to play there 2 or 3 times in Wales and Sheffield, and just the audiences there are just fantastic. I think that's where we kind of Darth Elvis and Imperials really kind of took off. Was after playing Sci-Fi Weekender.
Yeah, I've not played that yet. I did their virtual festival, but have not played. I'm booked for November, so just hope and pray we'll get there in November.
Fingers crossed.
Touch wood, you'll love it. It's just the audiences there is fantastic. Everyone's got the same mindset and just there to have fun. And, if they've got hair, let it down. As an Elvis impersonator, I should fuck up some hair, but I don't. So
that's cool. Abby is asking, the Cantina is a venue or an event. It was an event called #Cantina. Is that right? Yep. And that was in the bowling alley that's in the O2. I think, yeah.
Yeah, Brooklyn Bowl. It's sadly now closed, I think, but
so
one day.
Chrissy Wood, I love Chrissy. Don't even know you. Love you. Every time you come on the show, you ask so many questions. It's great. The question is for everyone, what are you looking forward to most once out of lockdown? So, Greg, do you want to take that one first?
Oh, it's too much, really. I mean, I think the three big hitters for me are getting back to conventions, going to gigs and playing gigs, and just going to cinema, just going to see a movie. I haven't been to cinema. I think it was August, September. It was September last time I was at the cinema to see Bill and Ted Face the Music. But just going to cinema and having that experience, but going to a gig and getting to play a gig again would be, yeah. A gig at a con, and then you tick two things off at once there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So aside from playing and being at shows, which is the obvious answer considering my line of work, the two things I look forward to the most are just having like a nice meal in a restaurant and being able to spend like 3 hours wandering in a library to pick the book I want to read, because right now like libraries are open, but you have to kind of browse online to find what you want, and then you go there, you pick it up, and you leave, and it removes all of the great experience that is just wandering the alleys of the library, looking at the covers, chatting with the librarians and asking questions about the books and stuff. So those are my like two most, libraries and restaurants. But yeah, I'm also like very eager to be able to, rehearse with my roommates, my bandmates, because we haven't played together since the show we did last September. So we're gonna be rusty.
Well, I don't have your issue with libraries, as I work in one, and I'm more terrified by the books than anything else, because there's so many of them, and they gang up on me at night when I'm in there alone, quite frankly.
Read us.
I know. The silence of a library is definitely unmatched by anything else. There's this like real void of sound. It's quite scary. I guess playing cons, like playing anything that has a lot of people at it that are really into it, because being a sci-fi based band, it's really hit and miss as to what shows work and which shows don't. And we're definitely a band of people sit and watch, because we project an animated comic book on screen with us. So people stand at quite a distance and just stare and watch. And I think at cons they're better at that. They're more likely to like hang around because they want to see that. Whereas people at normal gigs, they want to dance and mosh and stuff, and they just get confused by us, I think is the thing. So I guess playing cons again, and just moving up the con ladder, from mum and pop cons that don't. I did Essex Comic Con, which was in an outdoor skating rink, and that was great. But I would like to do bigger cons. I was in an inflatable dome, and I have artwork that goes with my music, right? So I had that as like an art exhibition inside this inflatable dome, and a chippy van came along and plugged into our four-way, and the whole dome lost its wind essentially. And my roadie had to run in. A big shout out to Jake for being such a legend. Runs in, closes my laptop, and then starts grabbing. The first thing was to close the laptop down, and then it starts grabbing the microphone, and then all the art, and like one got broken, and that was it. Out of like 12 or 13 that could have been damaged.
Wow.
So well done, that man. And I had to like pull them out of the thing. It's so funny.
That's quite a story for a gig.
Yeah. So I'd like to do some cons with stages, please. with actual stages.
And ceilings that won't fall on you.
Yeah, that's good. I have to say thank you to Alex, who has subscribed on YouTube, which I don't think has ever happened while we've been live. So thank you for joining us, Alex, over on the Iron Tubes.
Here's Alex.
Holly Leaves is asking, what's the dream gig? I think you've just heard my dream gig, Holly. A show that doesn't have... I've actually had a roof fall in on 2 shows, now that I think about it. I turned up at a venue one night and their roof above the stage had caved in, and there was only I think there was only going to be me and the headline band at that gig anyway, but that was a bit of an odd one. Anyway, yeah, a gig where the roof doesn't fall in is all I need in life, to be honest. So what about you guys? What's your dream gig?
Well, my dream gig, honestly, is to play at a venue in Montreal called the Society of I don't know if they translate it in English, but it's called the SAT. It's the Société des Arts Technologiques. Why did I say that with an English accent? My brain will not explain. Anyway, so it's a really cool venue, and it's a place where you can do like art installations and stuff. And I'd like to just my main goal with Alpha Botus is just to get to a point where we can afford to have like a big stage show with props and lighting and projections that suit our music and all that stuff. And we haven't, like, we're not at a point where we have the know-how or the budget to make that happen like just yet. So yeah, the SAT would be a great place to play because they have a lot of support for that kind of multimedia show. I just want to say real quick what Ferguson Photography said in the chat. # bringing the house down. Regarding your roofing problems.
Yeah.
Hey, Andy.
So, Darth Elvis, what is your dream gig?
Oh, I've got there's 2 that I've kind of said, if I can get to do these gigs, I would happily retire and you know, Lucasfilm send me a cease and desist. I'll have done what I need to do before I receive that. So one of them would be to play a rap party after one of the movies or TV shows finished up, and the other would be to play a gig at Lucasfilm or Skywalker Ranch. Mm-hmm. Play something in front of the master George Lucas would be cool.
Yeah,
I know he's not really based in those places anymore, but you know, he still kicks about the ranch. So yeah, just do a gig for George at Skywalker Ranch. That would just be get to say thank you very much to the man who created the whole Star Wars saga. And
Chuck is Level Up Leroy is saying dream gig. He's already played alongside Level Up Leroy.
Here it comes.
That was a nightmare. I mean, we've seen the guy's hair; it's so big. He was making his head bigger than it already is.
Chuck is asking us, who would be the dream person you would want to play with? My answer is easy. I just want to open for Devin Townsend. Like,
that's perfectly attainable.
Yeah, I know. He's another Canadian. He's another nerd. But yeah, that's like, if I do that, I'll have made it in my head. Like I keep rewatching the Live at Royal Albert Hall. I put the H of the wrong word there. Royal Albert Hall concert he did with like the choir and the string quartet and projections and stuff. It's great. Who would you like to share the stage with, Ren, that you haven't so far?
Oh, I haven't shared the stage really with anybody so far, but I would love to play the Ulster Hall in Belfast with Coheed and Cambria. Or
that would be...
I'd really like to play Wembley Arena, and I'll tell you why. Because I used to be the facilities manager there, and I want to stand on stage as the band. Actually, the O2, I was the facilities manager there too, but Wembley Arena is in my heart a better venue. Oh, I didn't say that. I still want to play the O2. Thank you. I'd like to stand on stage and say, the last time I was in this room, I was cleaning the toilets. Oh yeah. That's it. That's all I want to do. So Skunk and Nancy, Coheed and Cambria. I think Coheed's probably more achievable than Skunk and Nancy. Probably. So, yeah. Dream big, eh? Dream big.
Oh yes, it's important to have like goals and then dreams, because if you only have goals, it's boring, and if you only have dreams, you're not gonna get to them.
Yeah. So, Greg, are you feeling any pressure with the world opening up again? I'm interested. Like, do you have a strategy maybe for the world opening up again?
Yeah, get to the pub, get to see my mates, and see my mum and dad. I haven't seen them in ages. Like, actually see them, like in person, say hello. Strategy, yeah, getting back into the world again. It's a lot of downtime. I've been in lockdown eating mode, so lots of deep fried Minoc wings and the Wampa burgers. So definitely need to get on a strict diet when I get back out there and get a lot of gigs going, so I can lose the weight, because I sweat bullets on stage wearing the outfit. So if I do a lot of gigs, it's a nice way to lose the beer gut.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're in terms of the band and stuff. So I've got a new project, Darth Elvis and Friends, which is kind of like there's two sort of core members. We've got Andy, who's the drummer in Blues Harvest, who plays every instrument under the sun, a very talented gentleman. And Carl, who I do a podcast with, who's another drummer, but also again plays lots of instruments. We're kind of doing a lot of recordings ourselves and creating music videos behind them. So I think hopefully by the end of the year we'll put together enough material to put out a new album, or let's say a new album, the first Darth Elvis and Friends album. But we should have a new music video out hopefully next month or two, and another one very soon after that. So getting an album out this year will be good, and ideally playing a gig this year at least one would be good. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, at least one.
I've got some IOUs out there, so bookings that kind of fell through, so because of COVID. So hopefully those will get booked in again.
Yeah.
There.
Just feeling a mad rush. I'm trying to forego trying to fit in everything as soon as possible, and I think just sitting back for a couple of months and letting the world be crazy might be the way forward for me. But I've got this album launch in June, so I'm kind of like, I want to tour, but you know, I don't want to push anything at the same time. So I'm kind of stuck between anxiety and a hard place. That's where I am.
Between rock and roll and anxiety.
It's unpleasant. Yeah.
We've got a lot of people crowdsourcing the questions for us today,
yeah, it's great.
Is great. So Chrissy again, thank you, Chrissy, is asking about our favorite sci-fi comic films of all time. I'll start with mine. It's really easy. It's the two Blade Runners. I just love those movies so much. Especially love how they managed to like talk about the same themes in both movies, but with a very different perspective that kind of builds, you know, they didn't just continue the story, they continued also the message, or the deeper artsy meaning of the first movie. So what is your favorite aside from Star Wars, because that's an easy one, Greg, what's your favorite science fiction or comic inspired film?
Oh, tricky question. Comic wise, I'm gonna have to go with what Leroy said in his one a couple weeks ago, I think, with Batman '89. I was 11 years old when that came out, and it was the first 12 certificate film here in the UK.
I'm sorry, when we say 89, which one is that? Because this has come up a couple of times and I don't know which one it is.
That's the first Michael Keaton one with Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
So I was 11 years old when that came out, and I was a bit paranoid about getting into cinema with it being 12. It was back in the day when you used to queue around the block to go in to see a film, so you weren't sure if you actually get into the showing you were going for. So I have an older brother, and he was at the academy. I was still in primary school, so I put on his high school uniform to go and see Batman at the cinema. I was queuing outside with my dad, and my primary school teacher came past, And I was like, "What are you doing? What, are you leaving the school already?" I'm like, "I'm going to see Batman!" So yeah, Batman '89 definitely has a special place. In terms of the more modern superhero movies, I'd go with the first Iron Man because it kicked off the MCU, and I'm obsessed with Jon Favreau. He's just the man.
Cool. My favourite sci-fi film of all time is Aliens. I watched that when it was on ITV. So if it came out, when did it come out? Like 87?
Yeah, it's 86, 87.
Yeah, so so back then it took about, what, 2 years before it to get to TV? There was definitely a gap between cinema and TV, right? So it was on ITV, my parents let me stay up to watch it, and from that moment on, for about 3 years, every Saturday morning I'd get up and watch it, because I was in love with Vasquez. She was my idol, like, I'm Aliens, yes. So...
Did you realise Vasquez is the same woman in Terminator 2 that gets the T-1006, the thing for her?
Yeah,
I never realised that until somebody posted it recently.
Yeah, she's in Titanic as well. She's an Irish mother with kids that drowns her children.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a nice role.
I know, right? But I think it speaks to the actor. She could play an Irish woman and a crazy Latina at the same time. I suppose it's Latinx, really, I should say. And that always draws me into the question of whether we need to see what we need to see as representations of our own selves in sci-fi films, because they go, I had the very masculine Latina woman was my idol the whole way through childhood. So there you go. All I wanted was big guns, and that was it, basically. I loved it. So Aliens is my favorite. For sure.
The one that really marked my childhood was the Seven Cities of Gold, which is kind of science fiction. Like, they have flying Mayan and Aztec contraptions, so I'm guessing that's kind of like retro science fiction. But I watched those, I must have watched those 12 or 15 times, the whole episodes, the whole series.
Well, I think anything that's steampunk or cog. What is the other one? It's not steampunk. It's like the industrial one. It's not steam. It's something else.
There's
diesel punk. That's it.
Diesel punk.
Yeah, but that the cool thing with the cities, like the Seven Cities of Gold, was that they were really towing the line between science fiction and fantasy. You know, it's like it had that fantasy aspect that only a fraction of the world knew about these things, but it had the science fiction aspect of these things being explainable through language and math, and not being just straight up magic. So it's like forgotten technology, whereas in steampunk it's usually more of the whole world works on those technology and those rules. They in the most sci-fi, like Star Trek, the technology is at the center of society, whereas in fantasy sometimes it's magic is this remote, unknowable thing, and I think that has mystery that is really cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
So would that be your favorite TV show as a kid growing up?
Oh yeah. It's from the 80s, but my parents picked the DVDs up and the cassettes for me when I was young, and I would watch that over and over again. The one that was on TV when I was young that I preferred was Totally Spies, which is another it's a science fiction espionage show, and it's supposed to be for girls, but they're good characters, so I didn't really care.
Ren, did you have a favorite TV show growing up?
I don't think so. I can't think of one. I watched a lot of Star Trek for the first one. No, that's a lie. I had Starfleet X-01. Well, it wasn't called X-01 when I was a kid. It was called Starfleet, and I've named guitars after it, and I named a band after it, and all sorts of stuff. And it's something that I do have to get it again, and then watch the crap out of it, because I used to watch it all the time when I was a little kid, and then you forget. I think it's basically what I've based this background off, if I'm honest. If I look at this background now, I'm like, that is definitely from Starfleet. There was puppets, man. I was so in love with Shiro. It was just like, oh, I love you, come and be my boyfriend. Yeah, it was great.
There's a great show from Quebec that is like, it's huge in Quebec still. It's called In a Galaxy Close to You. And it's like this, it's kind of a parody of Star Trek, but not, it doesn't try to parody Star Trek, but it's like the Earth is doomed because of the environment collapsing, and they're trying to find a new planet for humanity. And it's just so silly. Like, it's but I don't think they translated it in English, so it's only like it's never been localized elsewhere, I think. So it's just huge in Quebec. Everybody knows it, everybody jokes about it and throws references to it, but nobody else knows about it. I'll see if there's an English dub, because it's like kind of the same type of humor you'd get in like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or those kind of sitcoms, with a bit of Monty Python absurd humor thrown in with science fiction. So it was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Any shows that... Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, Level Up Leroy has resubscribed for 3 months. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sorry, I did come up, but I didn't acknowledge it. I'm sorry, sir, but it's there. The acknowledgement has been had. Oh, yes, indeed. He's also saying the new Aliens comic that Marvel are releasing looks amazing. Subs beat dubs. Oh, yeah. What? I don't know what that's for. What's better? No, I'll do that in a minute. What's your favorite ever toy? One that you owned as a child or even right now?
Legos. How can you beat Legos?
Oh, for me, vintage-wise, going back to childhood, it would be Pat Plew, the Ewok from Return of the Jedi. I just love that figure, just the look of it, totally cool. Nowadays, it'll probably be I bought, like, they're not hot toys, but they're like hot toys. What are they called? Blitzway, I think the company makes it. Is Bill and Ted, Excellent Adventure, like big figures.
Oh yeah.
They're well cool. But yeah, Pat Plew from my childhood, the AT-AT, definitely.
See, I had an argument. My fella argues with me over this about what an AT-AT, how you pronounce AT-AT. And
yeah, there's big debates about that online. Is it AT-AT or is it AT-AT?
Well,
AT-AT to me.
Yeah, it seems to be a generational thing. I think if you're reasonably old, like some of us here are, then it's an AT-AT. And if you're reasonably young, like some of us here are, then it's AT&T. What?
Yeah, it's always been AT-AT for me.
Yeah, you're so wrong. So wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I just never heard everybody say it another way, and then I would get confused between that and the telephone company, like AT&T.
I'm getting shakes from the person in the room with me who's like, no, AT&T.
I guess I can see both sides of the argument, because you've got the AT-AT and you've got the ATST, but you wouldn't call the ATST AT. It's ATST.
Yeah, true.
But it's ATST, but it's definitely
AT-AT.
Yeah, but then my argument was that SWAT says a word, so you don't spell it out. So if you can make words out of it, then that's why you pronounce them.
Exactly, you're right. That's it. End of argument.
Yeah.
You don't say the UN, you say the UN.
But un's not a word on its own.
Oh yeah, true. Anyway, I think it's the kind of place where there's like no real rule. It's just people go by feeling.
Yeah, so Leroy is asking, what's better, blue or green milk?
No. Yeah. By the way,
I mean,
really?
I guess if your milk is blue or green, you shouldn't drink it.
Oh, haha.
you've seen where green milk comes from. Now, my only experience is really drinking green milk, and it's really bad for staining Elvis jumpsuits. So I'm going to go with blue milk because it's the original color of Star Wars milk, and 2, it doesn't tend to stain your jumpsuit as bad as green milk.
There you go. That's the most definitive answer on anything you could ever have in your life, for sure, for sure. Did you have the tree house? Ferguson Photography is asking, did you have the tree house? Although it's not a question, it feels like a statement that he's put 2 exclamation marks at the end of it.
I didn't. I wish I did. I used to play, I had a couple of pals around the corner who were from Australia, and they had massive like pine trees in their front garden. So that was our kind of like Ewok village, kind of treehousey, yub-nubby party room. So we didn't need it. We went out into nature and played with them, but yeah, it'd be nice. So holly leaves, if you're listening, Christmas.
Yeah, it's cool. Level Up Leroy is saying Batna burger or Kentucky Fried Porg.
I have to go for Kentucky Fried Porg. I've got a soft spot for Kentucky Fried Porg.
Yeah, Abby's also going with the porg. No, you're not going with porg?
I think today you should. I would go with the Kentucky Fried Pog. But that's showing my young age.
Pog? Okay.
Yeah.
Banfa burgers, you get fur in your teeth now and again, so
Yeah.
at least the porgs are plucked first.
There you go. There you go. So, what else? Do you have any other influences from sci-fi that you like to bring into your life there as well? Well, also in Star Wars, but.
Yeah, I am massively obsessed with the 2 great ones, Bill and Ted.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got the right attitude to be excellent to each other and party on. I think everyone could do with being more excellent to each other, then everything would be good in the world. So definitely a bit of Bill and Ted in there. But as well as sci-fi, I'm proper obsessed with horror films. So not saying that influences my day-to-day life. I'm not a serial killer or a slasher. I don't run about my village with a human skin mask and a chainsaw. But it's nice to kind of enjoy the darker things in life.
Darth Elvis exposed only on Sci Fi Hi Fi.
I'm looking a bit like Ed Gein, I think, with this shirt on, this sort of lumberjack shirt. I'm looking like
That's a very Canadian look, I gotta say. That's
I almost had
it's
my
almost our
trucker cap
national
on.
attire. Yeah. Just need like either a Maple Leafs or a Canadians hat. Canadians if you're like, a good person, and Maple Leafs if you're wrong. It's okay to be wrong, but we've got Chuck is asking the great questions in the chat, like if you could be alive in any part of Star Wars, when would you be alive? So I'd say when and where. So what planet during what time of the story?
It's got to be original trilogy, and although that's main that's the Empire time, but that's a tricky question. He's good. He knows his stuff. Yeah. Part of me wants to say original trilogy, but I'm actually going to go and say it'd be quite cool to have been alive during the kind of the full impact with the Jedi, or the Jedi in full flow. I've not read the new High Republic books because that's kind of set in that neck of the woods, but being as my son Chuck is a big fan of the clones, I'm going to go for the prequel trilogy actually and go with Naboo, because Naboo looks like it's a nice place to live, apart from when it gets invaded by the Trade Federation. Yeah,
I figured that the best planets to live on in the Star Wars franchise are those not mentioned in the stories that don't get blown up by the Death Star.
Yeah.
It's the backwater areas.
Naboo's got the best of both worlds. It's not. It looks like a warm planet, but it's not too warm. It's not like dust clouds like Tatooine. You don't get, have to go inside this dust clouds, and there's ample water. You can see that. So it looks like a nice, safe planet to live when it's not being invaded by the Trade Federation. And it's the peak time for the Jedi. It'd be quite cool to kind of get some Jedi training. Although I'm a Sith, so I shouldn't be saying that. Ignore me. Ignore what I said. Rule the
my bandmate and co-composer Frack, he had a project called Korriban, which was supposed to be Sith-inspired folk metal, and
Nice.
we've been picking apart a couple of his older tunes for that band. Like, that project never released anything, so we've been like taking those songs and reworking them for like future Alpha Buddhist records. So we're gonna have a bit of the evil Star Wars vibe, even though we have our own universe, so we don't usually reference existing works of science fiction. We do like the proper artistic way, which is you rip them off by changing a few things.
I wouldn't know anything about ripping off other artists.
I mean, you know what they say, great artists steal. They don't borrow.
No. What would you guys say to answer that question in terms of planet and time period?
Yeah, I'm not that big of a I've watched the Star Wars movie, but I'm not really that big into the lore, so I'd have to go with I think Coruscant would be cool. Like that feels like the kind of place where you can, whatever your interest, you're gonna find like a billion other weirdos like you.
Yeah.
Like in that big of a planet, so that feels cool. And also it doesn't get blown up, I think.
Not so far.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, Rin.
I'd be with the Ewoks, because I don't like stress and everything else is way too much hassle. And so I just want my little tree house and a couple of wee tree friends, and away we go.
And your magical armor-piercing rocks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just don't want to have to deal with other people's shit, quite frankly. And there seems to be a lot of it in the universe. And those guys, at least I couldn't I couldn't understand what they said. So that would be where I'd live. Just a hermit with Ewoks, probably. I feel like such an old woman saying that, but I can't be bothered with the stress of life, you see. So that's about the only place I could exist.
I mean, yeah, it's and plus, like the Ewoks are pretty good at defending themselves, so you'd have protection.
Yeah,
I mean barbecue as well.
That's true. When I was a kid, and I wasn't really into Warhammer that much, but I did have a Blood Bowl army that was made of dwarfs, so I just have a affinity with small things. I think is what I'm going for.
I've been playing a lot of Warhammer 40k with my buddies. We've been we're not playing the miniature game. We're playing the role-playing game more than because we don't have the money for the miniature game. It's like Magic. If you buy these things, you don't have money for anything. Peter is saying in chat, Death Ingloria, the Baba Yaga years.
Yeah,
that would be a good album. It's
Yeah, but everyone has to die at the end of my albums, so do we really want that?
No, it's social death. You disappear. Like, if someone goes to live alone in the forest and nobody sees them again, are they dead?
Ah. Yeah. Schrodinger's Rin. There you go. What is it? Schrodinger's? You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sith-inspired folk metal. I feel like that's a thing.
I haven't found any other band that, like, there are, considering how big the franchise is, there's a distinct lack of Star Wars inspired metal tunes. I feel like there are 100 times more Lovecraft inspired metal songs than Star Wars inspired songs, I feel. Same with with the Marvel stuff, there's like very little compared to how big it is in pop culture, I feel.
Yeah.
But you got Galactic Empire are
Yeah.
all Star Wars, right? That'd be Sith. That'd be Sith-fueled metal, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's also a band called the Yavin 4, which they write their own original kind of punky, metally stuff.
It's cool.
So we do like one of my other things I do is I do a Star Wars music podcast. So we're always on the lookout for new Star Wars inspired music. So if anyone knows anybody, point them my way.
Is that a weekly edition?
No, it's we'll try and do one monthly, but it's probably more bi-monthly if I'm lucky.
While we're on that subject, we may as well play one of your videos. That seems like a good segue into videos. And before I play this, I will say to everyone that we are playing this off YouTube and therefore likely to be kicked off YouTube. We're probably going to get kicked off Facebook as well. So if that happens, come on over to Twitch, where we will still be. We'll still be here. Yeah, breaking the law.
Breaking the
law. I'm just gonna attempt to play it on screen, so you will be able to chat over the top of it, should you wish to. I don't even know if you guys will hear it actually, but you'll see it. So that's as much as I can promise at this point.
I'll just go and listen to the actual stream.
Where is it? Here we go. Whee! Here, press this button.
Oh, well, bless my soul, what's wrong in here? I'm raging like a broken son of Dathomir. I'm falling and tumbling down a shaft. I'm Darth Maul. I've been cut up on. Oh, yeah. My arms are over there, my legs are over here. I can't seem to stand it, that's my only fear. Who do you think when you have such luck? I'm Darth Maul. I've been cut up on. Oh, yeah. Please don't ask me what's on my mind. My sisters made me a tie I cannot find. When I see the Jedi I hate the most, I want to turn him into a Force ghost. Well, I killed his master, what a shoot I've got. My rage is like a volcano that's hot. I'm proud to say a broken Padawan. I'm Darth Maul. I've been cut up on. Oh, yeah. I can feel the vengeance inside of me. My brother oppressor wouldn't let me be. I know that cure for this body of mine. Some robotic legs and a kick-ass spine. Well, the cutest master, what a chew I got. My rage is like a volcano that's hot. I'm proud to say a broken Padawan. I'm Darth Maul. I've been cut up on. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm all cut up.
Well, there you go. How about that?
I don't know who that singer is, but he's got an incredible physique.
So the questions that come up for me while watching that are basically: do you have your own studio set up, and what gear do you use?
I don't really personally don't have a room set up. I tend to do all my recording where I am just now, which is my conservatory.
So you do
randomly enough.
Yeah, you have your own. That's your own setup. That's cool.
So I've got what have I got? Right, I've got it sitting right here. I've got a Scarlet. Because I don't play any instruments, I'm just a singer. I've got a little Scarlet Focusrite solo Duda, little studio condenser mic, and for the use of music videos, I've got a nice little Shure Elvis style 60s mic for music videos and bits and pieces. But bought that last year when in lockdown, so I can actually do some decent recording. So it's all being done on my phone, kind of like what I do now and again. A thing called Cosmic Karaoke for a bar in LA, Scum and Villainy Cantina. If you're in LA, go and drink there. It's very good. So I was doing lots of videos on my phone, and I decided I need to actually get a decent mic and do a home setup, and that's what I've been doing now with Darth Elvis and Friends, recording properly with mic and my little unit thing, whatever it's called, Scarlett. Audio interface, that's the word I'm looking for. You can tell I'm just a singer, I'm not used to it.
That's cool. So do you use Blue Harvest to do your music then, or is it just you use Elvis backing tracks or what? Oh.
A bit of everything. It's not. So at the moment, Darth Elvis and Friends, we've got Andy Life, he was playing acoustic in that video there. He's the drummer in Blues Harvest. Multi-talented man. He's also Pop-Up Puppets Cinema as well. One of the puppeteers for them. And Carl, who's my partner in crime on Desert Planet Discs podcast. He plays sort of percussion in that video was just on. So, but the project basically for that is they're the kind of core members, but we'll bring in all sorts of. If anyone's ever up for playing a Darth Elvis tune, if we need flute, we'll find somebody who plays flute or saxophone or whatever. The more the merrier. Certainly, the next video we're going to try and get a lot of people involved in that in terms of different instruments and vocals. So the more the merrier for that.
Well, if you need a female backing vocalist, I am here. I am here. Amazing.
I'll take you up on that.
I should probably just draw your attention to something that Riamu, who, if you've ever watched Joe Rogan, he has this guy called Jimmy who helps him out. And I have Riamu, who has just posted me some information about the word porg, which to us was spelt P-O-R-G, but the pronunciation is same as the P-A-W-G, which is in the Urban Dictionary. So we may just be careful about when you say such things. And it means fat ass white girl. So there you go.
Yeah.
I can't comment on deep frying hogs.
Just if you're talking about
more R.
Yeah, porgs. Just in case you're ever out there talking about porgs, as you do, about doing anything with porgs, just and get some weird looks from some hams, then that's why.
I almost actually put a picture of me with a porg behind me for this, but it could have been totally different. I put a picture of myself with a porg. I wouldn't want to get.
Yeah, we have these.
Yeah.
There's a. Ooh, if you could be in any sci-fi, where would you be? Another good question from Chuck. I think I'd be an altered carbon. Like living forever and being able to just zap your brain into another body sounds pretty cool.
Quantum leap style, something like that would be quite cool. So you could go and live as different people. Quite a cool little thing to do.
Yeah.
I have an idea for a Death Ingloria album, which will be quite lit, I think. So all my albums, humanity dies out completely. So I have an idea that Sam Beckett is going to kill all of humanity because he can't fucking stand one more leap, and the only way he can get out of it is by making humanity never to have existed. The whole human race. So there you go. That'll be album number 13.
There's one of the creatures in I'm playing Delta Green with a bunch of friends these days, and it's like a Call of Cthulhu inspired role-playing game in which you play kind of men in blacks trying to protect humanity against the Cthulhu and all those stuff. And one of the threats are like a race of like crab-like aliens who they experience time like we experience like distance, so they live in our far future. But to make sure that they exist in their far future, they have to do stuff in our present and in our past to like make sure that the Earth becomes the nuclear wasteland they can live on. But it also always has been that nuclear wasteland they live on, and it starts to get kind of fucky because It's like alternate timelines on top of alternate timelines. But yeah, like to answer Chuck's question, definitely, I'd live in altered carbon, even though it's kind of a capitalist dystopia. But like, let's face it, we're kind of in the same boat here, except we can't live forever. What about you, Greg? What out of any sci-fi, which one would you live in?
I mean, my gut's always to say Star Wars, but I like what you said about altered carbon there, but and that could have made me think about Quantum Leap. To be able to live, somebody's brief life through, different eyes and stuff. Gonna be Elvis for a while, and then gonna be George Lucas for a wee while. Yeah, it'd be cool. Then if was it Ziggy? Was that the name of the?
Yeah, Ziggy. Yeah.
Ziggy. That'd be quite cool, I think. But otherwise, Star Wars, because that's what I live and breathe.
I would be Sword Art Online, and probably in the second season, and just play Gun Gale all day long.
Have you ever watched the abridged version of Sword Art Online?
No,
I hear it's
no.
So it's basically just people dubbing the show with humorous nonsense instead of the actual show. It's on YouTube. It's pretty fun. I haven't watched like the whole. I think I watched the first season, or maybe a couple of episodes from the first season. But the abridged is it's funny even if you don't know the show, and if you know the show, it's hilarious from what I've been told. But yeah, I once made a D&D game inspired by Sword Art Online. We were playing like the 4th edition, which feels kind of like a video game in its design. So I decided, okay, well, all of my players are high-level MMORPG characters, and they are now their characters. So this is why they know so much about the universe. Oh, my camera died.
Oh.
That's all right. I'm sure it'll
Coming
come back
in a moment.
Abby says Firefly is the universe she would like to live in. If you guys can answer these questions yourselves at home as well, just come on in with whatever your answers are. I mean, it's all good.
Here's a question
taking
for
notes
on Firefly. Do we think we'll see a second season now that Firefly is, I guess, part of Disney with Star and 20th Century Fox?
I don't think we will, because they got so much backlash from the movie that it's kind of like Half-Life, where we won't ever see Half-Life 3 just because of the pressure that's been put on it existing. So it would be like it cannot be as good as people think it will be, because the thing with Firefly is it might have like if they managed to finish the first season, it might have been rubbish. Like sometimes show are very good but end in a very unsatisfying way, kind of like the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. And if Firefly's ending will always be as good as we imagined it, because we're only imagining. It's like if they make an ending, or if they wrap up the show, will it be as good as the people imagine? I'm sure this headcanon as a way of, you kind of get demoitis from that. Like you get fanfic, you get attached to the fan fictions more than the actual show. And then when the show comes out and contradicts the fan fictions, you get a massive backlash from your most involved fans.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my take on it. I've just made peace with never seeing Firefly.
I definitely watched it when it came out, I'm pretty sure, and then I tried to re-watch it recently because it was on Amazon or Netflix or whatever, and I really couldn't even get past the first episode. I'm like, okay, this has not aged well, and
yeah.
For that reason, perhaps not. Abby is saying it will never happen, sadly. So,
I think with Josh's current state of where he is at the world and stuff, and it's what he's done in the past, I don't think it'll happen either.
Oh yeah, no, he is not getting anywhere near a Disney movie at this
To
point.
be near any project, really.
Yeah, which is honestly, I think, is for the best because those are heinous things he did.
Yeah, absolutely. One old project that is meant to be a new sequel coming to that I'm very excited about is The Last Starfighter. Have you guys seen that film from the 80s?
I did not.
No.
Oh, it's a classic. So yeah, the Gary Whitta, who wrote or was one of the writers of Rogue One, is meant to be working on a sequel to The Last Starfighter, which was this cool as hell movie from the 80s. Basically, a kid in a trailer park playing an arcade machine, which turned out to actually be a recruiting device for.
Oh yeah.
This sounds very familiar, actually.
Very,
I think
very
one of
cool.
our guests talked about that. Was it? I think it was Level Up Leroy who talked about that show or that movie. But yeah, that's like those kinds of plots where you they're kind of Narnia plots, I call them, where you kind of leave the real world behind and become the chosen one in this fantasy world are always great, especially as a young, like as a teenager when you experience those for the first time. It's great.
Said it's amazing. Sorry, Fergus is saying it's amazing. Fergus on Ferguson? I guess it's Ferguson or no, Fergus.
Yeah, usually it's
on.
Ferguson. Yeah. I mean, if it's anything
I have a
like
friend
this,
called Fergus, you see, so that would make perfect sense. I'm assuming, Greg, you would probably have a friend named Fergus as well.
I've got a friend called Ferguson. Is it Ferguson?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Hey, Andy.
Okay, it wasn't Leroy.
Yeah, no, it's a classic. It's a classic.
Harsh
Highly recommend. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. It has dated a wee bit in terms of special effects, but you know, it was the 80s.
I
It's all
think
good.
there's a lot to be said for a film that just ages well because the storytelling's good. I mean, you can forgive quite a lot. But
Yeah.
Firefly,
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah, the main thing also is because like movies usually have better special effects than TV shows, just because of, you know, you have only 1 hour and a half to fill, so you can dedicate more time to each special effects. Where Firefly, it shows that it's a TV show and is running on a TV show budget, so the special effects are kind of old, and like they were old and not cutting edge when it came out, so now it's even worse.
But couldn't you say the same thing about Star Trek and Babylon 5?
Yeah, I'd say that. Yeah, like the shows hold up despite the bad special effects, but it's like, you know, Doctor Who, like the special effects are really dated now, but it mostly holds up because the stories are usually good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same with. That's why I like books so much, because books don't, like, sometimes they don't age well because of, you know, the language that's used, or the you know, like the gross, like when writers write accents, it's always so bad. Like I really don't like it when, like in that new book, like J.K. Rowling released under Robert Galbraith, like she writes a character in a Cockney accent. And it's like, for me, who I'm vaguely familiar with the Cockney accent, but I'm from Canada. Like, we have nobody, you know, I've never met anybody who spoke that way. To me, it just reads like someone having a stroke, even though I know that's not what's happening. That's
what they sound like.
No, but what I mean is it's just, I don't know why they would do that especially in like science fiction or in fantasy. Because, like, I don't like it when dwarves sound Scottish. Like, they're not Scots, they're dwarves. Why do they sound Scottish? Or why do they give, like, certain... It's always weird when they use, like, British accents or English accents to type characters in a world that is definitely not the United Kingdom.
But everyone in space is American in Star Wars, right?
Yep. They're all American. Yep.
No, the Imperial officers are all British.
True. Yeah, that's like, imagine Star Wars, but Palpatine is, or is it Palpatine? I don't know.
Palpatine.
Like, Palpatine has like a posh British accent because they wanted to make him fancier or whatnot. That would just be wrong.
Have you
I
heard
watched all of
the
these.
story of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Unlimited power. That would be
It's
kind
the
of
story
silly.
one Jedi would tell you.
I think that's a question actually. You must have researched Star Wars parodies because there's tons of them. I mean, you must have done. I'm assuming. Do you have any favorites?
Ooh. So parodies wise, there's quite a few. I'll be honest, I was never a big fan of the Weird Al ones. They're probably the most famous ones out there. Doing the podcast, I discovered a guy called Royish Goodlooks. He's I think New York based. He does a mixture of his own original stuff, but he also does parodies as well. So he's done a couple of really great ones. Although I think there's a couple of people who have actually done one, which is Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire." So he's done a version of it, but there's other people have also done versions of it. I think it's become quite a popular one to parody. He's done a great version of that, and he did Adele's "Hello."
Oh yeah.
"Hello from the Dark Side."
I performed that actually at a science fiction fetish night. Yeah, I put it on a big screen and then I sang over the top of it. I think I managed to get the karaoke version somewhere.
Nice.
Yeah, so I've sung that. Yeah.
So I think those would be two of my favorites.
Oh yeah, okay. I had something to say that was really silly, but my favorite Star Wars parody is Mars by Gustav Holst from the planet, because like the Imperial March sounds so much like that tune. It's uncanny. I mean, so much of Star Wars borrows from classical music in a way that's like, it's really cool, because then you listen to the original pieces and you're like, oh, I like this piece already because I kind of listened to it already.
There's a great podcast, if you haven't heard it, Star Wars Oxygen, which has got a chap called David Collins who works for Lucasfilm, and he goes through each of the soundtracks and breaks them down to themes, and he relates it back to our piece of music that was it influenced John Williams. Really, really good. Highly recommended. Yeah,
the sad thing about I've listened to I'm gonna check that out. So that's Star Wars Oxygen.
Star Wars Oxygen, yeah.
Because I've listened to a lot of breakdowns of the Star Wars scores, and the saddest thing is that for the first movie, George Lucas and John Williams set up like leitmotifs, so they had like musical ideas tied to characters, and then when the prequels were made, they used the same melodies for different purposes, and then for the new Disney movies, they use them entirely for different stuff. So like the information is just like, they don't have the leitmotif like you have in Lord of the Rings, where like, oh, this is the Shire theme, this is the Fellowship theme, and then you have the Fellowship theme fighting the Orcs theme, and blah blah blah, and you can like hear the story. In Star Wars, it's like the Force theme was Obi-Wan Kenobi's theme, and now it's just the theme song of the whole movie, and it kind of like didn't like respect the leitmotifs, and they kind of just used whatever they wanted for the trailers or whatnot. So it kind of, I think it makes the music less good on its own, because of the way it's been like. Now when we hear the Imperial March was not just Darth Vader, it was the whole Empire, but now they used it for every time Darth Vader gets mentioned or whatnot. So it's but like musically, like John Williams is great at writing scores.
Yeah, yeah.
And also jazz. Like the Cantina theme is probably my favorite Star Wars song.
Can't beat it, really, can you? Although in Star Wars, it might be called, you might think it's jazz, but it's actually called jizz in Star Wars, which is just plain wrong.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate name. I think that's how Guar would call their music, don't you think?
Yeah, jizz and porgs, don't mix.
Yeah, no, they definitely were not up to the slang of the day.
There used to be a bar in Oxford that had cantina in the back. It was like a little cocktail bar at the back, and it was made out of I'm just trying to look up which bar it was had it, and it was made out of the stuff they used to make slide, or they still do make slides out of at like dodgy campsites, like or whatever, like Butlins or whatever. If they had like a fake rock, it would be made out of this like mesh. I don't know what's the word for it. It's like plastic pepper mache, but it's made out of plastic. I don't know what the word is. And it was all made out of that, and it started crumbling apart so you could see through it, and it was really dark and dingy, and they didn't ever put any light in it. And it was like, it ended up being like the bar that bands would use as the backstage rather than it ever being open, but it was like a little side. It was so weird. I'm just trying to find which bar it was in Oxford, but I don't think it's there anymore. But they had the whole
So Ricardo says in chat that Persephone do a Star Wars medley live. So Persephone, the metal band, that's cool. I like that band a lot. They're was it Atma? I think one of their record is called. It's a great record.
I'll go and check
those songs out if you like kind of like Symphony X or very like not like symphonic metal, but highly orchestrated progressive metal or whatnot.
So our tricky thing is we try and get a different take on the original Star Wars theme for the opening of our podcast each week. It's getting trickier and trickier finding new. So last week, I recorded last week, and the last one we did was bluegrass. I found a nice kind of bluegrass guitar cover, and I was like, yeah, I like that. I think that's one of my favorites so far.
Yeah, that the bluegrass reminds me of Steven Seagulls, who are they're like a bluegrass cover band, but they do classic rock and metal covers in bluegrass. So they did like Iron Maiden or AC/DC. But they're
nice.
It's like You Shook Me All Night Long, but for wash. What's the name for that in English? The thing they use as a percussion in bluegrass.
Washboard.
Oh yeah, washboard. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So washboard, banjo, double bass, and like accordion or whatnot, and it's.
Oh, is this Hate Seed Dixie? I'm sorry, I missed the beginning of that.
Oh, there's also that. Yeah. Cover bands with like a pop culture twist are a lot of fun. I think, especially compared to like just straight up tribute bands. I don't know about the UK, but in Montreal before the pandemic, the local scene was full of tribute bands who would do like a Linkin Park tribute, a System of a Down tribute, a Rammstein tribute, but they always only do one band and they try to replicate it as close as possible. Whereas I think it's more fun when you have like something original about your cover band or your tribute band.
Absolutely. It's there was one point I was thinking about doing I love Faith No More as one of my favorite bands. I was like, I'd love to do a Faith No More cover band. And then Faith No More came back and I was like, well, there's no point because Faith No More here, and you can't improve in perfection. But yeah, there's no point doing it. If they're out gigging, there's no point doing it. But it would just be for the love of doing it more than anything else. But there is an awful lot of tribute bands in the UK.
Yeah, in a galaxy far, far away in my past, I was a booking agent and tour manager for cover bands, tribute bands, and I worked with the Ramonas, which is an all-girl tribute, which is still going, but it's a completely different bunch of women now. And I worked. There was a Iggy Pop one, and I can't remember what they were called at all. And then the other one I worked for was the Darkest. And the Darkest. I can't remember what the fella's called. It was years ago. I mean, this is when I first left university. And it was around the same time the Darkness was still going. And so we did a show at the Main Fiddler in London the same weekend that they were playing the O2 or Wembley, or it wasn't the O2, it wasn't open then, but Wembley or something. And it was just such a daft thing to try and book. It made no sense. And the whole tour went on its butt, and the London show was the only one that happened. But the fella who was in the Darkest is Love Fist from Grand Theft Auto, the first two games. He was the musician who wrote and recorded all of Love Fist, which is the glam rock band. And he's Scottish. He's Scottish, and I understand that he was paid very little for the first one, a bit more for the second one, and then asked for, some points on the game or whatever it is that they ask for, royalties, whatever, and then was just replaced. Which is never any fun. I think his name's Paul. I can't remember. I'm sorry if you're not going to be watching the show, are you? Really, in the grand scheme of things, you've probably got far better things to do with your time.
Peter is going off in the chat about the all cover band festival called Glaston Budget.
No.
And the Manowar all women cover band Womanowar.
Yeah, there's Hell's Bells, which is the all female.
There's also there's the Iron Maidens, I think.
Yeah,
there is
Iron Maidens. That's it.
I wanted to have my own one for Green Day and call it Green Dye. But we'd only do songs up to the Green album because everything after that was crap. So.
My favorite weird cover bands. There's a couple of them, but it's that whole trend a couple of years back of doing black metal covers as surf rock. So you had like the Mayhems, the Burzums, and the Dark Shrooms, and they did like Surfing Moon, Californian Hunger, and it was just so funny because they just played black metal with no distortion and slower drums, and it sounds just like Dick Dale. It was mostly an internet thing, as we.
I would imagine you'd be hard pressed to get an audience to turn up and actually watch that. I think. Yeah,
no, that would, because the core audience of that was not really the black metal fans, because they're usually bad at laughing about themselves. There's I feel like there's a big divide in the black metal scene between people who take it seriously and can't laugh about it, and all of the others who are just there because it's it's dark, but it's so dark it gets fun if you're able to take that little bit of distance. And if you don't, you just end up looking really weird being really weird because you care so much about being the hardest or being the toughest or the grimmest, and then you turn around and noise artists are doing all of these things better than black metal does. Or shock rock does the shock aspect better than the Kardashians do the shock aspect better than most black metal bands.
That's true.
Because how do you get darker than the bunch of crazies who did the 90s black metal scene in Scandinavia? You can't
churches and
you can't go deeper into the horrific shock, because if you do, you just end up being a serial killer, and that's not a good way to be a musician.
Or is it? And perhaps it's
I
the
mean-
best way of being a serial killer, because you're going through towns, you don't stay for very long. Scrupulous
True.
Pip has a song about this called The Struggle, and it's the chorus essentially is, "My name is Johnny Depp and I kill people." And it's just about how if you're expected to go from town to town and always on the move and you're never in the same place twice, then that's a great cover for a serial killer, quite frankly.
Yeah, that would be a great Tom Waits cover band. It's like Tom Waits, but he's a serial killer.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Ricardo.
yeah.
oh,
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So Ricardo in the chat says he remembers having a chat with a guy in a pub who was irate that Immortal had smiled at the end of their gig. Yeah.
Sacked.
Yeah, I had one of Alpha Buddhist's like top fans, a guy called Adrian. He's like a very big fan of our music, and I can't thank him enough for his support. But we were almost in a band together once, which was a black metal band, and he left his other metal band, another black metal band, a while after because he was just like tired of being backstage before a show and nobody was cracking jokes. Everybody was like super serious and trying to act tough or whatnot, and like the fun of playing a gig was completely taken over by this kind of hardcore persona that you have to keep on all the time.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Peter's saying there the Carpenter Brute album is about a serial killer in a band, and yeah, you're right. I saw them at the Indigo, and you're right. Yeah.
Is that Letter Thief
Uh,
or Trilogy?
I don't know. I don't know much about their albums,
Okay.
but I just remember that being a concept of whatever I was listening to at the Metal Hammer Awards. That's where it was.
Oh yeah, that's like Carpenter Brute is one of the reasons I started getting into synthwave. So I'm that whole scene though is kind of going in a weird place because there's like a big wave of bands trying to do what Carpenter Brute and Perturbator were doing 10 years ago now, but Carpenter Brute and Perturbator are doing something else. Like the new song Carpenter Brute released is like nothing like the other stuff he did. It's not like 80s at all anymore. So the people in the scene are kind of divided between the people who were like, yeah, synthwave is about palm trees and. But anyway,
They're a
keep
metal
talking.
band who just use synth. I mean, they're pretty heavy, so I just consider
Yeah.
them to just be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
metal band. And rather than having a female-fronted person or a ukulele or what is it you've got? What is it you've got? An oboe? No, what is
no,
it?
we got saxophone.
Saxophone. There you go.
Yeah, Simpson saxophone.
That's it. Do you guys collect anything? Like either of you, do you collect things?
I guess I collect role-playing games book. Not really trying to. I'm not a big collector as a person. Like that's not an impulse I have. But yeah, no, not really. That's not a part of the hobby I partake in. Just I don't feel the draw to it. I understand it.
Yeah. Greg?
What about you, Greg?
Yeah, I've got a dangerous obsession. So, vintage Star Wars figures. I'm almost. I've got I think 9 left to get, and it's all the expensive ones typically, which I can't afford. The Star Wars autographs, as well. Bill and Ted stuff and Bill and Ted autographs. That's kind of my 4 main things. I buy bits and pieces of other Star Wars, modern sort of Star Wars stuff, but yeah, that's the 4 main collections. I also have a Star Wars crossover things, so like Star Wars Disney characters. So I've got a complete set of those, and Star Wars Muppets. They did like a Muppets crossover figures back in the day in the Disney parks. So I've got them as well, but main focus now is my Star Wars autographs, Bill and Ted autographs, and trying to get my vintage collection complete.
Trying to get all of the signatures from the crew and the cast.
Yeah, well,
involved?
there's just too many people, I think. So I did have that mindset, and now because I can't afford it, and the original trilogy people are obviously getting to a certain age now that we're sadly losing a lot of them. So it's hard to get a lot of autographs, and a lot of people have stopped signing because people are taking advantage and then selling things cheaply online. So I guess my focus now, I've kind of got all the core original trilogy people. I'm now focused on Mandalorian. But then there's all these other new TV series coming up. So
Yep.
that might kind of, like Obi-Wan and, Cassian Andor, all these new shows coming. It's like, yeah, it's an expensive hobby. So I try to behave, especially because my wife's listening. But yeah, Bill and Ted's another big obsession. I've got all the vintage toys, the modern toys. Trying to pick up some autographs now as well. And from Face the Music, I've got a few props and costumes and things from that now.
Cool.
I just don't have space for it all.
I think I've got the first 6 episodes of the comic book for Bill and Ted's comic series. So
Nice.
knocking around somewhere. Not here, probably at my parents' house.
Yeah, they're great comics. I love the old modern ones especially are brilliant.
Yeah.
I have to cut down on my impulse to buy more books because I live in a big apartment, but with 5 other people. So there's my girlfriend and I. We share a big room, but my parents moved out outside the city, so they gave me all of my shit back. I have nowhere to store my excess stuff. So and the only, I guess.
Sorry, far away. I was going to say, how do you feel about digital? Do you need to have the physical book in your hand?
So I don't mind reading like PDFs, but the thing is, I can't do like for role-playing games, like the books are like 300 pages and more of like album-sized books, so I can't go through that on the screen. It's just too tiring, or tiresome, should I say? So I have like all of the D&D books ever published as PDFs, so I can reference them whenever I need. But the ones I use often, I'll buy as books. Just I love the item. I love how they look on a shelf, and I can get lost for hours inside of a physical book. I can't get that from an ebook. Like the screen distracts me too much. What about you guys? Do you read paper or do you read on screens?
A bit of both. I think space is my issue now. I used to be a big DVD and Blu-ray collector, and on video before that, and CDs and vinyl, and I just don't have the space, unfortunately. And 3 kids. And not enough space in my house for all this stuff, so there's so much stuff in the loft. I don't really have the ability to play CDs so much anymore.
Yeah, who's got a CD player? Nobody's got a CD player anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I have a Walkman.
Yeah, we had this conversation last week.
Yeah.
Where Peter Freelop there was on our Discord, and if you're using Discord, come and join us. Just write Discord, command Discord in the chat, and you'll get our Discord invite. He was putting his 1995 cassette player, which he'd painted with was painted with some cactus and all sorts of cacti and all sorts of stuff. It was in our Discord. So if you want to see those photos, go over to our Discord.
Nice.
Yeah, but I don't.
Cassette.
I know cassette.
Good old cassette.
Good old cassette.
People, youngsters these days don't, understand the pain we had back in the day of like, you'd put on some music and it would get chewed up and you'd have to take out the tape and get a pencil and then wind it back in, stick it back in, and hope it works.
Yeah.
My parents, whenever we would get on the road, we had like an old van, like a Plymouth van. The brand doesn't exist anymore. But it had a cassette deck and no CD player, so we'd have like the cassette with a wire in it that would connect to the CD player.
Yeah.
But they also they would listen to like old cassettes of a lot of French singer-songwriters like Brel and Brassens and all of these guys. But So yeah, I had to rewind a few cassettes, but I think in Quebec, like, the technology usually gets to hear like one generation, not a like a human generation, but a generation of technology later. So like when it's not so much today, but back in, like, I remember when I was young, like, they would start talking about the iPhone, and then a year or two after it would start being widely adopted in our population, you know. So I think people held on to their cassettes a while longer, just because streaming services and torrenting and piracy, it was only ever good if you were looking for American or English speaking music, because the smaller local, because we have artists who only perform in Quebec and French Canada. They don't exist outside of that, and maybe France. So these people, like, they were not on LimeWire or on Napster back in the day. Like, nobody was torrenting that kind of music, so people kept their CDs and their cassette tapes longer. I think that's my very unscientific opinion.
Well, I feel like Northern Ireland was behind for a long time. It's kind of, and I have Australian friends who felt the same way as well. Like, everything just moved a lot slower the further away from London you got.
I think. Yeah, if you're far from London and like California, New York, right? It's like those. Ricardo says he still collects CDs for my sins.
Abby must be surrounded by them, just boxes of them.
I mean, I didn't throw away any CDs I've owned. Like, I still have all of the. One of my friends growing up, his mom did a garage sale and sold all of her CDs, and I bought like a full crate of them. But like it had all of the Alice in Chains, the Radiohead, the Our Lady Peace, all of the 90s bands, like rock bands and stuff. So I got that was a part of my musical education, which is going through all of these CDs as like a young teenager. I still have all of these, but I buy CDs from like underground bands at shows now, but the rest is just I stream and I buy on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Kiss versus AC/DC, who would win?
Well, clearly
Kiss.
AC/DC, because they're still around.
Well, no.
AC/DC, yeah.
Kiss have some more members still alive, don't they?
Yes and no, because so my thing with Kiss is the more I hear stuff that Gene Simmons says, the less I want to listen to Kiss.
Yeah.
Whereas AC/DC have the decency of keeping their mouth shut, and not showing to us how old and jaded they've become.
So I thought Kiss had played like their final gig. I thought that was
they have.
They did
1,000 times.
But you know, like they did like a big virtual thing at Hogmanay New Year this year, and the headline and download in 2022.
Yeah, so they're coming back.
How many wind-up tours have you done?
Yeah,
yeah, it's like a French singer called Charles Aznavour. I think he did like 7 farewell tours. Like, he couldn't retire. He just didn't want to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, for the folks who are on the stream and are trying to use the channel points to change the lights on light, blue team, red team, I can see that you're doing it. It doesn't obviously have any effect, and the reason for that is because those are changes that happen on Saturday mornings at 10 o'clock on our grunge morning, where I have my stage lights set up, and then people can change the stage lights color. I mean, we haven't actually managed to get it to work yet, but we have been trying. So so it's coming. So don't waste your channel points on that. And we haven't created any better channel points yet. So there we go.
You need to get like a dab.
I need to get a dab, right?
I like to make Leroy dab. So if Leroy, you still watching? If you are, Darth Elvis will do a dab for you.
Yes, but it's a drug reference, I'm assuming, right?
Oh no! It's just that
dance move.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
No, it can also be a drug reference. It really depends on who you're talking to.
Right. So there you go. I was right out of the loop for that one. So that's good.
So Holly is asking a question. Which celebrity has been your favorite to meet? Also, who was the most disappointing? Oh, she wants us to spill the tea.
Oh,
So what
apologies,
about you,
that's my
Greg?
oh,
Oh no, it's okay. Those are good
It's-
questions.
It is, yeah, it's true. My favourite's very tricky. I've got two in my head, so I'm going to say both of them. First one is Jon Favreau, just because I fell in love with the movie Swingers. I used to worked at a cinema when that came out, and I remember seeing it there and just falling in love with the film. The script is just brilliant. He's fantastic in it. Obviously wrote the script, and he's just gone on to do so many great things afterwards. And his directing's fantastic, and obviously what he's done for Star Wars is just unbelievable. Him and Dave Filoni can't wait for Dave Filoni as well. The other one is Carrie Fisher, who miss her every day almost. I don't know her. It's just that she had such an impact, I think. And I met her in Germany. I had like a photo op with her, and I remember I had my Darth Elvis gear on, getting my robes on, and making sure my hood wasn't over my face. So I went in to get a picture, and these photo ops at conventions are like you kind of go in and it's like snap next type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked in and Carrie's like, "Oh, Elvis, come in!" And I came in and stood next to her, and she put her hand in my robe, like kind of gave me like a hug, and then pulled close, and my hood just went whoop over my face. Snap, and I was like, "Next!" I was like, "Oh shit!" But I just love it because I like recounting that, and she was just an ace human being. So those are my two favourites. The most disappointing is still really disappointing. It was London Film and Comic Con, and to give you probably about 4 or 5 years back now. I'm as I mentioned earlier, a huge horror fan, and I was so excited. Tom Savini, makeup artist extraordinaire, was there. He also directed. He's directed a few things, but Night of the Living Dead remake he directed. I was so excited I would meet him to speak to him about, his makeup effects and directing Night of the Living Dead remake, and he was also meant to be directing Nightmare City, I think it was. It was another one of the really low budget Italian zombie movies, which I love. He was meant to be directing one of them. I think it was Nightmare City. I can't remember. So I was going to speak to him about that, and it was just he goes nobody there to see him, so I was like, perfect time to go and speak to him. And he just wouldn't take you on at all. Just kind of signed the picture. I was like, chat, nothing. So I was like, walked away and said, "Holly, that was just horrible. I was so excited about that, and it's just like the worst experience I've had with somebody. I think it was caught him on a bad day. He was apparently fantastic most of the time, but I got him in a stinker of a day, unfortunately." What about you guys?
I haven't met any I've met a couple of local celebrities from Montreal, but not any massive pop culture ones. The person I met who was the kindest and the nicest, and I was very, very happy. It was Wade, the drummer of Voivod, so Quebec trash metal band Voivod. I met him at a noise festival. We chatted for 15 minutes. He was very kind, just a very kind and gentle person, completely opposite to his drumming style. And then not a person per se, but I remember helping the band Veil of Maya open the door to their van in February of 2017 or 2016. They were playing a show and it was minus 26 outside. And their van door had just frozen shut. So me and a couple of other people who were just outside the venue after the gig, we kind of pulled together as a team to open the door. They were very kind and fun. The most disappointing one was Eric Lapointe. He's a well-known hard rock singer from Montreal. And I was working outside during a festival, and I taught him how to play the game I was like I was hosting. And then like a couple of months later, he got accused of assault and battery on his wife, and so that left a very sour taste in my mouth. Because before that, he was kind of known as like, you know, a nice and like, you know, oh, he's a bad boy, but that's the image. Like he's a decent guy. But then it appeared that no, that was the image was him being a nice person. And the antics were not for show, so that was a sour taste. What about you, Rin?
Well, I guess I've worked with a lot of people because I used to be a tour backline tech and tour manager. So I've worked with some famous people. So if I only took the ones who I happened to meet in passing, then I've met Slash from Guns N' Roses, and Claudio from Coheed and Cambria, who I've met I think twice. Probably, and had him sign things. But generally, if there's somebody in the room, I won't go near them if I'm really into them. So I've been in the same room as Maynard from Tool, and that was terrifying.
Oh, wow.
And I did meet Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit not that long ago, and I wish I hadn't, because I made a real dick of myself, and I was just like, I'm having a photo with you, and it was just a bit weird. I was a bit drunk.
Yeah.
I was a bit weird, and I really embarrassed myself. So I'm always terrified that what am I going to say that, you know, somebody hasn't said 1,000 times before me. So I wouldn't line up to meet people or whatever. It was just, you know, if I happened to just be standing in front of them as they appeared or something, you know, then I'd be like, hi, run away. But anyone I would really want to speak to, I would never speak to. I'd wait for them to come and speak to me because my band's so awesome. That's basically why I say it. You know, I don't want to intrude on anyone's day and make a dick of myself or them. So if they want to speak to me, they can come over at, you know, any point. So Maynard, you know, the offer's always there for a cup of tea. It's basically what I'm saying. Come on the show.
Yeah, I feel like I've always approached. I don't get really flustered around like celebrities, or I'm not a very like fanboyish person. That's just my nature. But I just try to, you know, be very like kind about it and not impose on them, because like being on the other side of it, as like I'm not famous or anything, but sometimes after a gig you don't want to talk to anybody for like the 5 minutes where you're putting down the drums or putting down your guitar or whatnot. And like, so I'm always asking myself, would I be annoyed if somebody did this to me at one of my gigs? And, you know, try to... The other person I've ran in a few times who's really nice is Luc Lemay from Gorguts. So he's just around the Montreal metal scene, like he just goes to shows all the time. So you just like, you kind of run in, like meet him once a year if you go to shows often. He's really kind. So you know, usually I'm just like, oh, hey, love your band, thanks for doing what you do, you know, have a good day, have a good night, whatever. Also, speaking of not being a fanboy, I'm wearing my Coheed t-shirt.
I've had a couple of run-ins with people because I've been stage managing or production managing shows where they have wanted to get into the backstage room, and that has caused some hassle. And I won't name them because one of them's dead actually, but you know, it's just, they're bound to come up again at some point. I'm bound to run into them at another show because of the shows you work at. You know, that's just the way of it.
Yeah.
It's just the way of it. And it's always like a hard sell when you're a stage manager, because half the people love you because you're strict, you know, as fuck, and then half the people hate you because of it. So yeah, it's a hard road to go. So there was some conversation in the chat about whether Kiss and AC/DC would win, and Chuck is saying, I'd say Kiss, no song will ever topple God Give Rock and Roll to You. And I'd have to agree with that, in the fact that song to me is the epitome of well-written songs. But Kiss does not win the argument for that because they didn't write it. It's not a Kiss original. So it was done by Argent, was the first band who wrote that. So if that's the strike you're making, Chuck, then Kiss loses, I'm afraid. And Rick says that
Sorry, son. Sorry, you're being shot down there.
I was made for loving you. Tops God give rock and roll to you. Rick, you're wrong, but you're still right because for the shots fired in this war, you are correct.
Funnily enough, I sang "I Was Made for Loving You" as a duet on my first musical theater show. So we were doing an adaptation of Fame, but we changed most of the songs, so we didn't have to like pay the price, to get the official show book and whatnot. So I sang a French translation of "I Was Made for Loving You." But yeah, I agree with Ferguson. Photography here at Detroit Rock City is my favorite Kiss song. I think it's their best. Probably because I played it so much in Rock Band or Guitar Hero, I can't remember which of these games had it in. I'm of the Rock Band generation. I wanted to become a musician because I had so much fun playing Rock Band.
Well, we only had Guitar Rock, whatever the Guitar Hero. That was it. There wasn't Rock
Guitar
Band.
Hero, yeah.
We didn't have Rock Band. We had Guitar Hero, and that was it.
Yeah, Rock Band came around Guitar Hero 3, but I had an Xbox, so. Still, oh god, I can't wait to just be in a room with people and make music again.
Yeah.
I did download Rocksmith because I thought this will be fun. It's gamifying my guitar playing, but I just didn't get into it. I find it annoying and difficult because I'd rather just be shown how to play it than have to watch blocks because it's
Yeah,
coming from playing guitar.
Rocksmith to me is just a step too far. Like, I had the Rock Band game later on that had a real guitar and that was supposed to teach you how to play. The thing is, it was easier to play the song without bothering about the Rock Band and to try to match what Rock Band was doing because they wouldn't register the notes properly sometimes. And like, it's not a way to learn a song. You can't learn a song by just watching the notes come like that. Yeah. You have to know where you're going, especially on guitar, because you have to change hand positions sometimes to, do a certain lick or whatnot. And you have to know that in advance because you could be playing by going up the neck before you. Anyway, it kind of doesn't work. Whereas like playing drums along to songs on Rock Band is amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fun thing nowadays is people do Clone Hero, which is like a open source version of Guitar Hero, and they play that on there's a huge community here on Twitch that does that. We actually had someone play one of our songs in one of these games, so we made a chart, and it was pretty fun to watch somebody play an Alpha Buddhist song in Guitar Hero.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I should do that with my new album.
Yeah, you should. I'll put you in touch. I know a couple of people who do those charts. You have to pay for the commissions to be made, but then they're not really that expensive, especially considering the work involved in it, because you have to like manually assign every note.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because we've got 2 piano songs and a 7-stringer. Do we have a 7-stringer? No, we've got a section that has a 7-string on it. So I have to go buy a 7-string now. Thank you, Luke. Thank you.
I recommend I had good experiences with the Schecters, but the PRS 7-strings are amazing.
One of Tesseract lived right in the corner, so I'm just going to go and try out all his. He's got a freaking garage full of them.
Yeah, that works. They will have the best 7-strings around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a 7-string for a long time, but it had a Floyd Rose, and Floyd Rose are the worst.
Yeah, you
Sorry for all the guitar talk, Greg.
No worries.
Anywho, that's us up to 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, I've got another meeting this evening. Unfortunately. Thanks for joining us, Greg. It's been awesome to have you on. Have you got anything you'd like to publicize yourself here?
Please give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Trying to build a channel on YouTube. We're going to have a lot more videos coming up there, Darth Elvis and Friends, in the coming months.
If any of your team want to throw the links into Twitch, go ahead. You will not be kicked out for linking all the stuff in. If the boys want to link, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, please do. And yes, I'll kind of not fully involved in a gig, but I'll be featured in a gig that's coming up, a virtual con, Capital Sci-Fi Con. I've got a virtual con on, I think it's the 13th. Is it 13th of March? Is that Saturday? I think it is. 13th of March, Saturday. Blues Harvest are doing. I have some virtual performances that they've put together, and there'll be some Darth Elvis appearances in there. So, if you fancy a virtual con, I think it's £3 a ticket. Goes towards Chaz charity, Children's Hospice charity in Scotland. And yeah, go check it out. We'll be in there somewhere.
Awesome.
I think the conga line from Chicago is featured in the video. So.
That's great.
That's what you need.
Love a good conga line.
Yeah. Especially with a Laptinet playing in the background.
So yeah, Etienne, what have you got coming up?
So this Friday, I will be live streaming. I don't know what time yet, but probably for a couple of hours because it's Bandcamp Friday, and I will be shopping on Bandcamp and reviewing whatever I find. So if you have music you're releasing, throw it my way. I will be going. Like, I have a backlog of albums I have codes for that I haven't reviewed. So I'm just going to go through, listen to music, give my 2 cents about it, buy a bunch of music, and share the love that is Bandcamp Friday for everyone.
Yay.
I'll go take a look at your brand new Bandcamp page
Oh.
you made.
Yeah, it's not ready yet. It'll be ready on
Okay.
Friday for sure. That just reminds me, I have to put the merch store on.
Yep. I also
Yeah.
have, so Monday, next Monday, we are doing our Minecraft community streams with Alpha Botus. So come through, I'll put the link to our Discord server, and from there you can join the community streams. We basically just try to build all of the crazy science fiction locales in our stories, and we're having a grand old time. The server is, like, the Minecraft server is available outside of stream hours, so you can just come on and play. I'm in there building stuff whenever I'm tired of working. So that's great. So that's Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, so that's 11 p.m. UK time, which is quite late for y'all.
Y'all.
Oh,
Yep, y'all. The single most effective word of the English language.
Yeah. So I just thought I would remind everyone who we've got coming up in the next couple of weeks, because why not?
Yeah.
This is the right meeting for it. So next week we have Curtis Dewar from Dewar PR, and we are all part of the, well, not all of us, but that's where we met when me met and started the show from music mixing. What is it? Music marketing mixer.
Marketing mixer.
Yeah, and they're now doing a 13-day PR challenge, which starts on the 13th of March, which we're a part of as well. So if you want any music PR help, come and join those Facebook groups. They are really good. And thank you, Beef Nugget, for following us. Beef Nugget, that's the best name ever. Beef Nugget.
That is the best name ever. I like that. Beef Nugget.
Thank you for following us. So we've got the PR man is with us next week, so you can ask him all PR questions. Like, he does metal, but I guess like PR is PR. It's the dark arts as far as I'm concerned. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's pretty difficult. And then on Wednesday the 17th we have DJ Elliot. Yeah, DJ Elliot.
It's gonna be great.
The real Comic-Con DJ, not that fool.
Yeah, the imposter we had last time.
Not the imposter that we had last time. Is he still in chat? I'm not even sure. Let me just have a wee look.
Just trying to start a feud.
I'm
here.
sure. Oh, I
Yes, he
think.
is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's probably not listening though. Is he? Oh, he is.
I'll just take a dab just in case.
Yeah, just do it up. Yeah, and then on the 24th of March, I did say it was empty, but it's now filled because it's my mother's birthday. So we are gonna interview my ma, right? And most of you are like, why would you want to do that? Well, she's the first female to have ever written for 2000 AD, and she wrote for 2000 AD throughout the 80s. And then she went on to write for Rainbow and all sorts of other stuff after she retired from 2000 AD. And she
Rainbow?
is Rainbow.
As in the TV show?
Well, no, the comic version. The comic of Rainbow. Rainbow,
Of Rainbow.
Rainbow, the TV show had a comic called Rainbow. Yeah.
Oh man, that is awesome.
And I appear in one of the comics for Rainbow's comics as a brownie. So yeah, there you go.
Man, I need to find that.
Anyway, so on the 24th of March, we're going to be interviewing my mum. It will probably be the last interview she'll do. She's never keen to do them, so it's only because it's her birthday I've managed to talk her into doing it, I think. So that'll be fun. And she's also the script writer for Death Ingloria, so she's involved in our storylines anyway, so it's good. Then on March 31st, we are with Mara from Thought Crime, which is going to be it's going to be a fun one to try and promo that, really, isn't it?
It's a banned word on Twitch.
That's
so
Thought
Crime.
THOT.
Yeah.
A bit like Pog, to be honest.
Yeah, they are. So Thought Crime, they are a cyber grind band. So it's a mix of like Nintendo-inspired electronic music, really angry drum and bass, and really heavy metal. Their music is just fun. Like their first album is 15 or 16 minutes long, and it's like 12 songs. So it's like ADHD music, which I love.
People music. Beep boop, beep boop.
Yeah, beep boop, but angry beep boop.
That's amazing. So
I have a couple of people I want to ask to come on later in the year. One of them is a fellow United Kingdom. Oh no, I think he's in the Republic of Ireland. But a fellow synthwave artist called Alpha Chrome Yayo. That he's a very nice Twitter presence, so I hope it translates into an interview. But
I'm sure it'll be fine.
So
I'm just going to end by saying that we got sent a gift this week. This is called a Fuggler.
Ooh.
A Fuggler. Yeah. And I think it looks just like me, to be fair. This was sent by Ashka. And I love it. It's got a green.
Wow.
It's got a green eye. But there you go. And I think this is what, if I was allowed to collect things in my house, this is what I'd collect. I'm not allowed to collect. I have an appropriate adult that tells me not to put anything else in our flat. So this is what I would collect if I got given the opportunity. It's pretty great. Anyway, if you're out there, join our Discord. I'll put that in the chat now. Like and subscribe. As you know, you're adults. You know how to like and subscribe to any channel that you read this on. If you're not watching in time, live, if you're not watching live, but you're watching after the fact, you can still like and subscribe and then have the choice to come and hang out with us next week, or you can just listen to us like a podcast. Whack on Twitch, whack on Facebook or whatever, whack it in your pocket, listen to it while you're at work. You know, you understand. Just do it whatever you want. Do whatever you want. You're a free thinking individual. not you, but the rest banter. Of you.
Yeah. But put us on as to replace the office banter that no longer has that no longer exists because you're working from home. Yeah, that sentence made sense.
My Discord link
no
longer
exists. Is broken.
Yeah. Okay. It must have. Did they time out? I think they time out.
Yeah. If you don't put them like forever in the description, like you can have them be permanent, but they do time out.
I'm just gonna copy a new one and then whack that in the chat, and then that'll be us. Yeah, thank you very much for letting me know that doesn't work either.
And thank you again, Greg of Darth Elvis, for coming on. It was a lovely chat.
Pleasure.
And
anytime.
That was not the right link either.
Looking forward to hearing that those new songs you got coming out, because the Darth Maul one was pretty funny.
Cheers. Well, there is an album on Bandcamp, so Bandcamp Friday, people, if you want to check out.
Oh,
Darth
yeah.
Elvis. It's the old album, Darth Elvis in the Studios. The album 4 is on there, so check it out. Yeah.
Amazing. So the chat will be open on Discord we'll just be in Discord after here if you want to hang out, show your photos, to do whatever. Have a chat in Discord afterwards if you like, and if not, we will just see you all next Wednesday. If you're into watching someone do band admin, which I know there's at least 2 of you that do because they always come. Fridays at 10 o'clock in the morning, I stream myself doing some band admin. I work out how to do some graphics for Facebook and Bandcamp and all that crap. So if you have any interest in that, it's 10 o'clock on my channels on Friday. And then on Saturday, I stream at 10 a.m. Grunge Morning, where I ruin your favorite grunge, pop and rock songs in some dark country style, which is the only thing I can do on an acoustic guitar. And we just hang out on a Saturday morning, and that's it. That's basically it. So thank you once again, Greg and Etienne. Sorry, Etienne, for joining us. And we will see you all next week.
Hot dang.
Hot dang.
Hot dang. Hot diggity dang.